Hi everyone. I'm just going to hang on for a bit because I've had trouble with live again tonight. I think it's here. I think it's my address that doesn't like live. It won't work on my laptop, so I'm on my phone. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to see comments and things, and that this comes through loud and clear. And it's quite interesting actually how this live came about, because I was actually speaking with Georgia, our lovely Georgia, who you may have seen in the group. And I don't think she can join the live tonight, but she was challenging, quite rightly, well, what is this ideal client thing? You know, I'm not sure. I don't buy into it. So I thought, well, it would be really good to just talk about it on a live and just give you the perspective of why we decide to look at ideal clients, what it means to us, what's the process, why do we go through it, or what does it mean? So it'd be quite an interesting topic to talk about. If you are joining me, if you're online, give me a thumbs up, say hello. I might not be able to see any comments because I'm on my phone, but hopefully I will be able to see you, and hearts and likes make it feel a lot nicer if you're with me. So please say hello if you're online. That would be very cool, because I know there's a couple of people here with me. It's a bit like a seance, isn't it? Is there anybody here? Is there anybody there? But yeah, send some hearts and thumbs up if you are. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to tell you about the first time I came into contact with what we call avatars. And part of forming your ideal client when you're looking at your whole sales strategy is that you create what we call an avatar, and they're called different things. Some people call them different names, but the avatar name is quite commonly used today when it's related to your ideal client. So I came across this ideal client avatar process, and being quite old school sales, I kind of looked at it and thought, oh, for goodness sake, why do I want to do that? Why do I want to do that? You know, that's just ridiculous. So if you are online with me, say hello, because I'm on my phone and I can't really see who's who, and I'm not sure I can even see comments, so hopefully you are there. So I really poo-pooed this because I thought this is just silly. You know, why would I do this? The first thing I thought was, you know what, actually I'm going to sort of, I might lose people that I want to speak to if I define my ideal client as something very specific. It means that maybe I can't sell other things to them, so why would I do that? Maybe I'm cutting out my audience. So that was like my really big thing about it. I didn't like the idea. I wasn't comfortable with it. I wanted to sell everything to everyone. But actually, as you move on through business and you start to define your business and you look at a lot of the other things that go with setting up your business, you have to understand that actually you need to have ideal clients, because what they do is they give you focus, and that's really important for many, many reasons. So yeah, so I fought the whole ideal client thing for some time, so which is why I kind of related to Georgia a lot when she was saying, well, I don't know whether I buy into that, you know, how can anyone be an ideal client? It kind of puts people into boxes, which I think is one of the things that we kind of rebel against. We don't want to put people in boxes. We're all very unique. So the other thing that I did just recently as well is I sent out a survey which some of you very kindly filled in for me, and it was really interesting because what I wanted to do is I wanted to get a feel for what you wanted to actually learn around the sales subject. What is it that you really wanted to focus on and understand about selling? And the responses were really interesting in terms of, you know, out of 12 responses, it was quite varied as to the different subjects that you wanted me to look at. So I wrote down some of the things you'd said. So I put the titles for you to choose which was most important, just to guide you. So things like your sales strategy. There's actually 3 people out of the 12 wanted more information and training and learning around your sales strategy. It's quite a big subject. So what did I mean by your sales strategy. And then understanding your offering. So, you know, understanding exactly what it is that you offer. Well, there was about 2 people out of the 12 that wanted to know about that. The most people wanted to understand about presenting their value. Really interesting, you know, the big subject where we've got to put a price on what we do, we've got to make products out of what we do. If we're providing a service, how do we make products out of a service? So lots of subjects around that. But the reason I'm mentioning all of those things is because it all comes back to the very basics when you set up your business of the things that you should do. Three really key things. I mean, I like to work in threes, as you know, but 3 really key things for me. The first thing, as you know, is knowing your why, okay? Because the point is, if you don't understand why you do what you do and your core values and what you really stand for, you cannot connect with your client. And so you do need to do that work first. You really need to understand why you're doing what you do. And so the core values piece and the personality of your brand, these factors are really, really important as to then who your ideal client is. Because actually you've got to be aligned with them. And that's one of the reasons why defining an ideal client is so important. You have to be aligned with them. The worst thing in the world, if you're a coach or you're providing a service, is when you're trying to do that with somebody who doesn't actually really have the same values as you, doesn't really have the needs very specifically for what you're doing. Just some, but maybe not really. No, it's wishy-washy and it's woolly. There will be people out there who completely connect with what you do. There will be clients out there who absolutely need what you provide. And that's why the whole exercise of doing your why, your core values, and then finding your ideal client to match is so, so critical. So that's one of the reasons, the first reasons why you should absolutely think about your ideal client and actually finding out who they are. Now, again, we're talking about an ideal client and we're making it feel like that's it, it's rigid and it can't move from there. So this is not the case. This is almost, if you like, a starting point. Because actually what happens is this. Here's my story. Back in the beginning of the year, I decided, after being in sales for 30 years, working for companies, having my own business, as you know, but working for companies as well, selling, heading up sales teams, I would finally break away and I would teach selling and coach selling and be a mentor for whoever wanted to kind of work with me. But I only knew that when I'd really niched down and thought about my real core values, my real skills and my ideal client. Because before that, when I very first launched Compassio, I was a coach. Just a coach, nothing else, just a coach. Because that meant I could do everything. I could do life coaching, I could do business coaching, I could do sales coaching, I could do leadership coaching, I could do management, I could do probably grief coaching in some respects, just because of my own life, personal experiences. I mean, you know, I could do so many things. And then I have to find my audience for those so many things. And of course, everyone could buy from me. Every single person out there could buy from me because of all the things that I did. Now I have to decide what words I use to attract them. I have to decide where they live and how I get in front of them and where they hang out. And imagine finding out where all of those people hang out and how to speak to all of those people. It's a mass audience. So my point is that when you start to draw it back down and you really start to niche it, and you really start to think about what's your real core skill? What is it that you really, really bring? Then you start to really define your why, your real why. Not what you can be to everybody, but the real reason why you are doing what you do. There will be one core thing. There'll be core values at the heart of it, and there'll be one core skill that you're bringing to the party. And when you think about how you know me now, my skill is sales, because for 30 years I've been in sales, and you will feel the same. You'll look at your background, your experiences, you'll look at where you are, you look at what you want to achieve, your core values, and you will know this is where I'm at and this is what I can bring. So there's a few things that I kind of wrote down here. So the stage is really when you set up your business and looking at really how you're going to get out to this ideal client, this target audience, finding out your why, as you know, defining this ideal client, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, and just a few little things that you can think about when you're looking at, well, who is my ideal client? And then also understanding their why, because if you don't understand their pain and their challenges and the absolute worst of the worst that they're feeling, and actually also their euphoria and the best of the best that they're feeling, so what's it going to feel like when actually you've helped them? If you don't define all of that, you can't even start to understand how you can help them. And how you can help them is your product range. So everything links in and everything centers around your ideal client. So there's a lot of reasons there why this is an exercise that you should absolutely do. Back to the kind of fear of doing it, you know, oh, well, I might miss out on something. I might lose a client that I actually really want because I don't cover exactly what they want at that time. You can't fear that, because actually you can't be everything to everyone right here and now. So by making a niche and making an ideal client, what happens is you present a focus. You give yourself a focus. So when we talk about things like ideal clients and avatars, you know, there are people who will go into very, very deep detail in their avatar that they make. They have a name. They name this person. This is their ideal client. They name them. They have an age. They have a marital status. They have children. They know, you know where they live geographically. You know what their skill is. You know what their purpose in life is. You know what they're doing for a job. You know what they're doing for hobbies. You know what they eat for their tea. Okay, so some of those things like sound a little bit far-fetched, but you see, the more you drill down, the more then you have a real connection with your ideal client. And that connection means that you really understand them. There's a big thing I talk about when I talk about rapport, when I talk about connecting with your clients, and that is stepping into their world. Because unless you do that, you can't connect with them. You can't really understand what their challenge is. And more to the point, you can't then see how you can actually solve their pains and their challenges unless you really step inside their world. So for want of a better phrase, if we're talking about ideal clients, it's so that you're able to focus and that you're able to step inside their world. And in order to step inside their world, we will probably all do this in a different way, because we are all unique. George is right, we are unique, and we're not trying to put people in boxes. We're making a starting point so that we understand what it is that we can offer to our ideal client. And from that, it will evolve. You'll have maybe more than one avatar. In fact, most people will have more than one avatar. And so I, for instance, would have an entrepreneur as an avatar, which is very much like a lot of you guys in my group. My other avatar could be a corporate salesperson, somebody working in a business, somebody working in a sales team, somebody leading a sales team. So I have 3, 4, maybe even 5 avatars if I want to. But my point is I need to focus on those individual avatars one at a time. Otherwise I'll go mad. And also I won't achieve anything. So we've talked about ideal client. We've talked about the reasons why we determine an ideal client. And it is really, really important. I know that I can't see any comments here. I'm really, really hoping that I actually have people who are online with me, and I can't see any hearts or thumbs up. But I can see that there might be some people watching, so I'm just hoping that you're all out there and you're hearing everything I'm saying. So we've determined why we need to have the ideal client avatar, the idea of who this person is and what they look like and what their needs are. So make it whatever level you want to make it. Nobody can tell you how you have to do this. What they can tell you is the reason why they ask you to do it. And what is this all about? Which is what the title of my live was. What is it all about, having an ideal client? It's about focus. It is about just understanding how you then can connect with this client in order to sell. And all of those things come back to these things that I talked about earlier in the questionnaire. So your sales strategy. How do you make a sales strategy? You understand your why, you know your ideal client. Then you can formulate a product range. How amazing is that? The only reason you can formulate a product range is because you understand the challenges of your ideal client. So you can make products, programs, whatever it is you're selling. If you're selling a tangible product, I know Sarah, obviously I've been working with, Sarah Cook. She's got a tangible product. She's still got an ideal client. She's still got other ideal clients down the line. She's still got several different avatars that she'll work with. But by defining them, she knows then the message for each of those avatars, and it will be different. So then it brings me on to things like your marketing messages. You know I'm not a marketeer, but you also know that sales and marketing are really closely linked. So actually everything that you say in your marketing is hopefully your path through to your selling. You are selling through marketing today because we have access to the internet. We can gather so much more knowledge than we ever did before. In the old days when I was first selling, it was down to us as salespeople to educate our clients. We knew, we had all the knowledge. They couldn't do any research, so they just trusted that we knew what we were saying. It's not like that now. People can research. So in order to get that ideal client, you need to be saying the right things, attracting them with the right messages, saying to them, I understand your pain. I see where your challenges are. And guess what? I felt that too. I've got clients who feel this, clients who've done this. This is what's happened. This is how we've solved their problem. And then they felt like this. And so that whole conversation, that human conversation, flows really, really naturally because you do actually understand your client. You've stepped into their world. And that's because you understood who that ideal client was and what they looked like. So it links to your marketing, it links to language, it links to your whole messaging. It then links to your face-to-face meetings, your telephone calls, your Skype calls. Everything links because you will understand what their pain and challenge is. And when you've got that bit, you can have this human conversation. It doesn't become salesy, it doesn't become pitchy, it doesn't become scripted. I hope this is all making sense. But I have to tell you, I fought the whole ideal client avatar thing for quite some time. I didn't want to miss out on anything. Why would I want to define something so deeply? What if they wanted something else and I could actually do that for them? You have to trust that by building that relationship initially and that focus on that ideal client, that actually you'll work with them, you'll get to know them. And then when they say they've got another challenge, you'll solve it along the line with them, because it will happen naturally. So that's really important, that you understand you're not cutting off any avenues by defining a niche and defining an ideal client. What you're doing is having a focus in order to actually be more productive, to have the right language to hit that target audience. And the other thing, of course, is that you have a huge array now of Facebook adverts that target demographically so finely your audience that you would be mad in some ways not to define that ideal client in order to target them very directly through your marketing. So there's lots of reasons why you should just sit down and do this exercise. So let me just ask you a couple of questions to think about when you're thinking about your ideal client. When you want to think about who is this client and what does it look like, think about when you tell somebody what you do and who you are, what's the first thing they ask you? So remember this. It's really important. Start listening. When you're speaking to people and you say, I'm a sales coach, I'm a graphic designer, I make cuddle beds if Chris is with us, Sarah, I make jewellery for mums, baby friendly jewellery. What's the first thing that they ask you next when you've told them what you do? This is a massive clue as to their connection with you, their need, what they're interested in about what you do. And all of a sudden you can start to realise who your ideal clients really are, because they'll be the ones that ask that question, which is almost that next question. Tell me more about that. Well, what does that mean? Oh, that's interesting. Well, what does a coach do? What's the difference between a coach and a trainer? All of those questions are clues that actually you found somebody you're connecting with who's interested in what you do, and then you can explore it further. So think about, what's the first thing somebody asks you when you actually tell them what you do? It's quite a good one to think about. We don't always think about that. And also, how can you help your ideal client? What is the one thing, if they came to you, if they walked in the room tonight and they said to you, I've got this problem, what would that problem be? What is it that you can actually help them with? What can you solve? Right now, right here, what is it that you can solve? Another clue as to what exactly it is that you can give to your ideal client. And then the other thing is, what have you already achieved with your existing clients? What did they like? What did you solve? What were their problems? So what did those clients look like? And were they your ideal clients? And you will, I promise, have a dream client in there. You'll have one client, if not more, who you worked with, who you loved working with, who was just fabulous, who actually you helped so much and it felt great. And it was your intuition actually just worked with you all through, and it just made so much sense. That client is your ideal client, your dream client. That's going one further, because that's just like your magic 100% client. And they come along now and again. But your ideal client will have all of those traits of that experience you already had with an existing client. So go away and think about these things. Go away and start mapping out who your ideal client is. If you've done it already, take it a step further and start to really think about what your products are, what your offering is, and how it matches to that ideal client and actually what you're helping them with. And start formulating product ranges. Start thinking about the different ways that you can service those clients. So I really hope that helped. I know that there's people online with me. I haven't seen any comments, which is really frustrating because it didn't feel very interactive. But I do hope that it helped. I hope that it kind of threw a little bit of light on the reasons why we really do need to just imagine and think about our ideal client. One word for the answer to what is this all about, this ideal client, is focus, I think. That's the one word to take away. It gives you focus. And have more than one ideal client, that's fine. But the focus is then actually how you get the connection and start to do business. Lots and lots of love to you all out there. I hope that's really helped and just thrown a little bit of light on it. I do a lot more deeper work with ideal clients when I work with you. So you know where I am if you fancy just having a look at working one-to-one with me. And don't forget, on the 1st of December, I'm launching a membership group, which is cheap as chips, absolutely amazing value. And if you want to join as a groupie, it's £17 a month, and you will get continual weekly lives full of great learning. Plus we'll have some guests as well to actually help you too with other subjects. Nice to see you all. I will see you again really soon. Lots of love, and ta-da for now.